Alright, so we are still rocking the post commentary, and we are officially at the point where the game starts to come into its own. Um, Now we're actually kind of starting to see the forces at play that are actually manipulating the world, rather than kind of the byproducts of it, like the undead settlement and the Carthus catacombs, and almost the past components of it. Now we're seeing what is actually going on, kind of in the present. I don't know if that makes much sense, but up to this point in the game, it feels like the undead settlement and everything, the undead legion and everything we've kind of been through, have all been leftovers of the current kind of hierarchy of power that we're seeing. And so things become massively more significant from here. And this went on a little longer than I really thought, I guess. But we're starting this out by helping out our BFF, Cirrus of the Sunless Realm, I think is her title. Yeah. So she put her signature down, and we are responding to her request for assistance in an NPC fight. And again, I like that Dark Souls 3 did not completely ignore 2, but I will say in my playthrough, I don't even think we met this character. This is Cuttin the Wanderer. And in Dark Souls 2, the whole reason I didn't even pursue it was, it turns out I completely messed up the quest line from the very beginning. So he and Patches, no, what was his name in Dark Souls 2? It wasn't Patches. Oh crap, Pate, P-A-T-E. Yeah, and I was just trying to think of this last night. So in the first area we're in, he's the one who tells us, "Oh, there's some good treasure behind there, and it's all yours." Those two have a big feud going on, and I messed up Pate's quest line from the very beginning, which meant he and Crichton would never do their thing. So I just kind of skipped the whole thing. And even with this, even with the NPCs, like I really like the way that this game made it more challenging, because you could see it was using the in-game systems.
Thank you for your generous rescue. That dark spirit was one of Rosaria's fingers, vile bastard offspring who lurk in the darkness. My sworn enemies.
Mine too.
Fearsome invaders, to say the least.
Yeah, we'll get them.
I would have made it alone. You have my deepest gratitude.
So we met Rosaria, and we did not join her covenant. If we would have,
I offer you my sign.
she would not have let us help her. Let us help her. And at any moment, she'll bail on you. So I do want to get back to Crichton and that NPC fight, but this is also significant. So, the Pontiff Sullivan made, I think they're called Outrider Knights, and there's 4 of them in the game that we know of for sure. And these are their spirits, their essence. There's something left behind in Irythyll. And so the first Outrider Knight was who we fought, that we got the Irythyll sword for. And there's another one kind of hidden away later on, and then there's two more that I'll explain a lot once we get there. Okay. So this right here, this introduces another concept like the deep, and that is the profaned flame. The profaned flame never goes out, never extinguishes. And so these enemies are using their pikes as catalysts for the profaned flame. And the profane, that's the one thing that is just completely over my head in this. The profaned flame, the deep. I feel like there is, kind of like I've talked about, there are little parallels that you can sort of make inferences off of. But the profaned flame, like, my mind immediately goes to the chaos flame, which made the demons, and it seems that that's not what the profaned flame is. I don't know. It's very hard to understand. There's not a lot of detail given to it, and even once we get to the profaned capital seems to have just so much of nothing going on. Another thing I like about this area is that, unless I'm completely forgetting something, this is one of the few spots in a Dark Souls game that has patrols, kind of like a legit MMO. Oh yeah, I left a couple of them in, or at least one of them in. One might be coming up, but there's some weird little edits, or not even edits. I can only assume something happened while I was recording, and it's just a little jump, but still, it's really weird. It's happened a couple times in this playthrough that I've noticed. So this is a shortcut back to the beginning, and I love their weapons. I have got just a cut right on the very inside of the tip of my upper stupid lip. Okay, so I think that is her making those noises. It's another one of the evangelists. Got a little gate right here. And whether or not she trapped herself, or she was kind of trapped there and imprisoned there. But this is Doris. Doris's gnawing. Better sit up so I can read. Summons great insect swarm to feast on foes. Those who linger too long on the brink of the deep will often slip. Doris is sure to have wallowed in this darkness, intoxicated by its peril. So, gnawing is is the spell that those evangelists will normally cast, just like the little swirling dark coming at you. Oh, here we go. Okay, so very important. We see that is a male specter in the front with a female specter behind, and if you look at what that female is wearing, that is something we'll see later, and that is the Mask of the Dancer. So the male specter there is Vort of the Boreal Valley, and the woman is the Dancer, who is a boss later on. And when we actually get to that boss, Vort, his boss room is right down the stairs from the cathedral where we will ultimately fight the Dancer. And I think I actually do look at it a little bit later. I got rid of Vort's soul, I believe. But either an item or something we get, I just don't remember. Talks about how he is never far from the Dancer. And so those were the other two Outrider Knights made by Sullivan, Pontiff Sullivan. I cut out a ton of this area. There's a lot of looping pathways, and some of the rooms, some of the areas you go into, at one point we start seeing enemies. Well, we've already seen some of them, but they're much more prominent a little later. We see enemies who are using items to basically make themselves invisible. So they kind of go stealth mode until they move, and then they can be seen. And there's some big areas where you just don't know how many there are until you start seeing them move, and then it's just like, oh my god, they're everywhere. I don't remember what this is. Oh, probably some cult item.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Covenant, not cult.
I never managed to find Horace. But my duty must be done, even alone, as an unkindled Lord Seeker. For the children I knew, bless their souls. We all have our reasons, don't we? Please, take this. Recompense for my foolish request. And also a token of protection. May the flames guide your way.
Ring of the Evil Eye. And I think that just...
You are brave indeed. To face your duty alone. I would do well to learn from you. May the flames guide your way.
I think that just... Oh, Quiet Resolve. That's a good one. That's a good gesture. I mean, massive callback for the first Dark Souls. And she's wearing the armor that, yeah, that's... See, just like there's so much personality and subtlety and history when the game is done right. And Dark Souls 2 just sucks. It just sucks so much. So yeah, you just either don't talk to her again, or you tell her you never found him. You never found Horace. And then she'll appear here in Irythyll. So we're about to get to the second part of the NPC fight, which I'm not sure. I don't think he'll show up if you do not do the... So you can see they're invisible until they move like that. I don't believe he'll show up unless you do the Cirrus event. And so now we've got to fight Creighton solo. And I missed the backstab because that stupid tree is in the way. But the fact that this game really goes above and beyond utilizing the game mechanics to make the NPCs more challenging. I killed him off camera, but like right there. So he used a Lloyd's talisman. Basically what that does is it will not allow you to heal. And so as he's trouncing me, he'll throw those Lloyd's talismans to stop me from healing. All the while he's chugging down his Estus. So like he's healing himself. He's acting like an actual player. And I am very happy to see that. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful touch. Big mess of statues over here. Except this one.
Oh, my. You are. But I'm afraid we require more time. As long as it takes a dark droplet to fall, that is all. Our gracious Lord.
So I don't remember. Oh, and this is where we just pick up Crichton's gear once you kill him back on the bridge. The Yulia, I don't remember what her name was, but she was talking to us about Henri and our wedlock and the fact that she has somebody tailing Henri. That's who that was. And I think you have to talk to that NPC. And there's something you can do that Henri will actually give you a dialogue cue where she's like talking about feeling like she's being watched and the statues are making her uncomfortable or something like that. But you got to be careful because I believe you can kill that NPC with one hit, and then it's just that whole quest line is over. Oh yeah. So this is another spot where it's just a giant room that is full of these enemies, and so I cut this completely out. It's just boring. It's not that it's poorly designed or anything like that. It's just when you're in it, it's one thing. When you're playing it and trying to kind of get a feel where everything is and how to get through it, it's exciting, it's invigorating because you're right there. But watching it, it's just boring. And you may have noticed, but I am not nearly exciting enough to have a monologue over something that boring and make it entertaining or enjoyable. Little audio indication that you got something special around. My God, my lips are so chapped. We want to try to kill her pretty quick because that scream she does will call all of the enemies out. And there is a way you can drop down kind of from the top of that wall and get the jump on her. Not really a plunging attack or anything like that, but you can at least be that much closer to her before she gives that call to kind of bring everybody out. And again, these enemies are all over the place. You just can't see them until they start to move. And another thing that this game starts to do here in this particular area is actually go back a lot more to like its Demon Souls and a little bit of Dark Souls, but much more to Demon Souls, where it's just scary. the enemies and some of the imagery you start to get in a little bit of this is feels much more like a survival horror kind of game than an action kind of game. And once water gets so those things, that Ring of Sacrifice didn't do that person very good, did it? Yeah, that little jump right there. I don't know what happened. That wasn't an edit, and that wasn't me starting and stopping the recording. But so right now we're under the bridge, or we just passed under the bridge. That where we fought Crichton, where we fought the alligator dog looking thing. If you just run away from it, when you come down to this area, it will jump off of the bridge and attack you again. And then your mobility is compromised because of the thick water, or the high water, I should say. So you definitely want to kill it while you're up there. This would be a much tougher place to fight it. This is not a good thing. I'm about to fall asleep doing my own audio. that can't be good for anybody watching this. If I'm falling asleep recording it, it probably means I'm gonna lose a lot of people watching it. And I try to edit down as much of this as I can. You can probably see the timestamp on the video is 39 minutes, 28 seconds, or 29 seconds. That's edited down from about 76 minutes. So I cut almost 40 minutes out of this video. So I mean, I really do. Oh, that's one of those gross slugmen looking guys. The other thing is I'm getting quite hungry. Stomach is going to start having the painful growls. And I've been sick the last couple days, so that's certainly not helping me much either. And just another, I love the organic way that these games are able to put their environments. Like, you don't look at that and say, "Oh, what's that doing there?" That's rude. I'm sorry. Yawning while I'm talking. And just like, they don't have to do it. But then you get something like Dark Souls 2, where the environment, you climb to the top of a tower. You're in the top of a tower, and you take the top of a tower, not a mountain, a tower, a standalone tower, and then you take an elevator up, and then all of a sudden, somehow, you took an elevator up from the top of a tower to be like at the bottom of a volcano where the Iron Keep has sunk in. It's like, how? Just, if nothing else, make the elevator go down. Like, that would have been such a simple fix. Make the elevator go down so that the Iron Keep has sunk. It's just sunk. But no. You finish the fight with Mytha, the Baneful Queen. You take the elevator up to a lava-surrounded castle, and nobody got fired over that blunder. But again, just like that's also what makes it so frustrating. Oh yeah, we picked up the Fire Witch leggings. I don't think I'd look at the item description, but they're... Wait, look at that. Look at that. Look how good he looks. Just such a simple fix. Such a simple fix. You take the elevator down instead. It's just a bummer. Just a bummer that a game that had so much potential ended up being so bastardized. And oh, they released that they had a season pass with that game and all kinds of day one DLC. Like, they were just it was Dark Souls being a video game, and it's too much of an outlier to just be like that. Yeah, I was hoping to get him off of this stairway. And look how much damage he does with that. But that's a Murakumo for you. I love that sword. Love that sword. So we got on the other side of the pathway. Oh, and I still missed the backstab. We got on the other side of the pathway before we hit the Ember, and then he invaded us. And even though I missed the backstab, we still got him. Still got him. And so this part is splendidly done. Like, immediately brings you into this claustrophobic environment. Supremely claustrophobic. Like, you don't even have the whole screen view like you do pretty much everywhere else in the game. Like, you are trapped on all sides and the top, and like really low ceilings, which makes these awful things just seem that much bigger when they rear up. Like the forced perspective to make these monsters seem that much more horrifying and large. Ugh. And I mean, if you hate centipedes, forget about it. Like, you're not gonna make it through here. Ugh. Just look at it. Look at it. Oh, so gross. So obviously there is some dark, dirty deeds going on here at Irythyll. Lots of human experimentation, lots of unpleasantries. And I'm too excited to not talk about it, but there is a huge buildup that we're not even aware of yet. Like, you can be in the area. This is pretty important right here. Make sure not to miss this. The excrement covered ashes. Yeah, it's poop covered ashes. Poop ashes. Make sure to grab those. But here we go. Here we have a nice little spot.
Oh, oh, oh. Excuse me, I must have dozed off. It's rather warm in here.
Yeah, you and me both.
Well, hasn't it been
Solaire,
too
or
long?
whatever your
It's
name
good
is.
to see you.
Sigurd.
Oh, I seem to have missed my chance, so I, Siegwart of Katarina, offer my deepest gratitude and a little surprise to go with it. It's all yours.
Nice little miracle.
Won't you join me for dinner? I make a fine Esther soup. I've got some stewing right now. Even we undead deserve a little normalcy from time to time. And finally, upon this rendezvous, let us make a toast. To your valor, my sword, and our sworn duties. Long may the sun shine.
The Estus is an interesting
Have you
little
heard?
thing.
Somewhere, hidden right here in Irythyll, is a deep dungeon. And even below that, the profaned capital, home of Yorm, the reclusive giant lord. That reminds me, I've a grave promise to keep. Oh, sorry. I'm afraid I've cast a cloud over things. Well, I'm going to have myself a little nap. The only thing to do, really, after a nice toast.
That's how you do dialogue. Not freaking Dark Souls 2, just all these characters never shutting up. So, I don't remember where I was listening to it or looking at it or something, but apparently Estus is just fire. It's just a little jar of fire, and that's why you can refill it at the bonfire. I don't know, that struck me as, odd. What's not odd is this room. There is suddenly a massive departure in the feel of this area. And that right there you have a silver knight looking at a picture of Guinevere. Now, I thought when I first did this, I thought about showing off what they tried to do here, but I didn't want to get killed. And oh, also, they made these guys way harder than the first game. They're insanely hard. And I still try to show it off a little bit because it's, God, if you played the first Dark Souls, you know who these guys are, you know who Guinevere is, you know the significance of that, and their bodies didn't disappear. Like that's so big. That's so big. Their bodies don't disappear, but you have this knight who totally has his back to you, who's just waiting for a backstab. But if you go to do it, right there, it's a trap. So, like, your mind is swimming with the Silver Knights, Guinevere, all of this Anor Londo imagery, and the fact that you can just go up and get this perfect backstab on the guy. But if you do, you're gonna get shot in the back. Like, it is that moment is so flawlessly executed, it almost makes me mad. And then here, the Leo ring, which is associated with Ornstein, the Divine Blessing, which is Guinevere, and Smo's Great Hammer. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. Twisted Great Hammer associated with Smo, the last knight to remain at his post guarding the ruined cathedral. Restores HP while attacking, a carryover from Smo's past as an executioner. So that is just wrong. Restore HP while attacking is not because he was an executioner, it's because he was a cannibal. He ate a number of his victims. And he was never a knight, because Lord Gwyn, because of him being a cannibal, would not permit him to be a knight. And then whether or not that was actually even Ornstein there, it's hard to say. There's the lore becomes a little bit messy there. But still, like, those are big indicators that everything from Anor Londo is here. Like, whether the Pontiff found the items and made a little shrine to Anor Londo, whether he found Anor Londo, there's so many delicious implications. And so here, pretty much finishing things out, we got a couple more items to grab, and then we're also going to open up the last shortcut. That's the boss fog, obviously, but we're not gonna do it yet. Because we got one more big item to get. And then, like I said, we need to open the shortcut so that we don't have a ridiculous run back. Oh, and here, so again, like, you can see the patrols setting out at the far end of the screen there. Particularly, like, if we would have just jumped down right there, we would have completely missed this shortcut. So just making sure you know, like, what the points, what the paths of no return are, and, you know, if you're gonna jump off of something, do that once you have completely cleared the area, because we would have, that little drop off would drop us right where we were just looking. So we're gonna get this ring, and then that's gonna take us to the end of the video. So if you come down too soon, you got that patrol, you got the enemies right in front there, and you're in trouble. Ring of the Sun's Firstborn. The Sun's Firstborn was once a god of war until he was stripped of his stature as punishment for his foolishness. No wonder his very name has slipped from the annals of history. A nameless king of sorts. I'll see you next time.